Ian Hazacostas coming out with an interview that talks about add-on removal and more philosophy behind that and what they're trying to do with it all. And then also we got a couple events going live, more midnight information, so let's just jump straight in. Heroic Mana Forged Omega caches are available once again in retail WoW. If you haven't done this yet, we got the Mythic Dungeon thing returning. So complete 4 Mythic Dungeons, or on Mythic difficulty, and you'll get yourself a cache of heroic level item level gear. So a lot of people honestly probably don't need it at this point, but if you're leveling up and all, preparing somebody for maybe, you know, the jump into midnight or something, this is a nice little event to do. Run 4 Mythic Dungeons, those could be Mythic Zeros, and get yourself a heroic piece of gear. Also, Blizzard talking about server lag. So if you've been playing Midnight Beta, you may have noticed some lag issues. Well, interestingly enough, there's some new tech Blizzard added in that's simply breaking the servers that they didn't realize. So they released a blue post today talking about the server lag and what's been going on with all this shit and why they think it might be happening, and the reason might surprise you. So they say here, we're still plugging away, but we think we found the problem. It's fish. We've made a lot of improvements to NPC behavior, having them react to players and the environment in a more natural way as opposed to their typical wandering around creature flag. And that largely is working fine in many places. But we found along the coastlines at midnight, where there's a lot of fish, obviously, there's a lot of wildlife there, people will get in, and once there's enough players in the water that are close enough to the fish, the advanced NPC behavior begins to kick off, and that leads to a bunch of server lag. Funny enough, I didn't notice this yet. I haven't gone in the water maybe in midnight, but evidently the fish are supposed to react to you kind of swimming by them. So, which is a cool thing. You know, those little immersive tidbits there make the game feel a little bit more real. But evidently it's causing server lag. So they say here, again, this might not be the magic bullet or the thing that was causing all the problems, but we're going to do some mad science tomorrow to scale things back a little bit differently, and if that doesn't help, we're going to have to do some more fishing. Either way, I'm hooked. Yeah, nice little pun there. So there you go, server lag caused by fish. So close your legs, people. Moving on, Endeavor neighborhoods. Activity going wide. So Endeavors, a big thing coming up that maybe some people don't know about, but Endeavors are like these quests that will be open to the neighborhoods to be able to do. And why you would do them in a neighborhood? Well, maybe we're going to find out here, some of the rewards. So let's get into what the rewards could be for these Endeavors, or these quests that can be neighborhood wide. So how to pick up an Endeavor. You pick up an Endeavor in your public neighborhood, or private neighborhoods, which will have a neighborhood manager choose the Endeavor for the neighborhood. Oh, God. Okay, so I'm planning on making a guild so we can have a big neighborhood for the community. And I guess I'll be the neighborhood manager, so I'll be picking the Endeavors for you guys. There you go. Talk to your neighborhood steward to start one. So the rewards for your neighborhood Endeavors. Complete tasks to collect community coupons, which can be spent at the Endeavor Trader to purchase themed decor. So obviously housing items. No surprise there, but yeah, housing items will be available through these Endeavors. Complete Endeavor milestones by completing tasks to unlock new decor on the Endeavor Trader. Okay, so I guess completing milestones will unlock certain things that you can now buy. Note, you can spend your community coupons at any Endeavor Trader at any time. Community coupons carry over between Endeavors and can be taken to any trader in any neighborhood. Assuming the neighborhood you're visiting has reached the requisite milestones, you can purchase and unlock decor there. Okay, so you can go to other neighborhoods and purchase shit? I wonder if that means you can go to another neighborhood and purchase stuff that they unlocked that your neighborhood didn't unlock yet. That would be weird. It'd be an interesting loophole. I don't know if that's what's going on here, though. Completing an Endeavor will grant a bonus reward to your account for some extra house XP and coupons. So you yourself completing the Endeavor gives you a little bonus, whereas everybody gets to reap the rewards of the Endeavor being completed in the neighborhood. The person who actually completes it, or the people who complete it, get a little bonus reward there. Developer notes this is not yet implemented, so the little bonus reward is not yet implemented. There you go. Tasks. Endeavors will both take you to back to old zones, which is really cool in Azeroth and beyond, and they take place in your neighborhood. Similar to the trading post, there will be a generic task for all Endeavors. Many of them will be themed. The themed ones will always be more efficient tasks. Tasks will be community coupons, gold XP. Tasks will reward community coupons, gold XP, crests at max level, and housing XP, along with provided rewards towards providing progress towards the endeavor. So there you go. Completing a task while in a neighborhood group will grant you extra progress towards the endeavor, unlocking milestones faster. Many tasks can be repeated for fewer rewards. This is noted by a circular icon on the test. Like, I guess a multiple daily endeavor. You can always do it over again. New this week, additional decor is available in the neighborhood vendors, and more decor neighborhoods and otherwise will be added throughout beta. So there you go. Endeavors. A cool little thing. Also a cool little throwback, right? Takes you back to old zones. You can go around, complete things, and get yourself neighborhood coupons, get yourself progress towards your renown track for your neighborhood, and a little bit of extra goodies for those of you. Greg from the HOA. That's right. Yeah, Greg from accounting will be handling our HOA because obviously his accounting skills are there. The one thing that you have to know about Greg is he won't be available during the day to run our neighborhood because his wife is a complete and utter bitch that doesn't like him to have any joy in his life and will not let him play during the day. So Greg runs around doing his daily, his real life dailies during the day. And at night, he runs down to his basement and he'll be able to handle things for us. So thank you, Greg, ahead of time for doing the things you're going to do for us. Will it be a Beavers Guild? I don't know yet. That sounds like a yard sale. Kind of does. I will sell dildos. Okay, yeah, there will be dildos for sale in our neighborhood. I'm sure of that. Okay, moving on to the real thing this week, the real piece of news. Ian Hazakostas doing another kind of press release on add-on removal, right? This is the big controversial thing. Oh my God, Blizzard taking away my add-ons. How am I going to ever handle my, map not looking like a giant peepee? Or what am I going to do? How do I deal with the removal of add-ons? How do I actually play this game? That's a crazy question, but you will be able to play. And Ian reassures us that their goal is not to make the game more difficult, but to make the game more fun and interactive. So here we go. Blizzard via WoW Discord on UI removal and all these other things going on. Hello again from the World of Warcraft UI engineering team. As alpha phase of Midnight comes to a close, beta begins. We would like to take a moment to hit the pause button and answer some of your most common questions and reflect on the process so far. So there we go. Let's jump straight in here. What is the goal for this initiative of removing add-ons? Here's the goal. Ian covers the subject in more detail in his post, but perhaps the simplest way to express the overall philosophy of this project, add-ons should not be able to provide competitive advantages to combat. While preventing add-ons from being able to trivialize and counter mechanics, it is certainly part of this goal. That isn't the entirety of the goal. Anytime a plurality of players agrees that a certain add-on is required to perform competitively in the endgame content or with a certain spec, that is the problem. While we have no issue with add-ons customizing how combat information we show is displayed in your UI, whether it's for accessibility purposes or for personal preference reasons, players should never feel like there is a competitive disadvantage if they choose to not use the add-on. And certainly nobody could argue that in its current state, that's not how the game is. You are certainly at a competitive disadvantage if you go into a fight and you don't have certain weak auras. I mean, we can just talk, like One-Armed Bandit is a great recent example of that. If you go into the One-Armed Bandit fight and you don't have the weak aura that tells you exactly which bomb combination to disarm, well, for one, you're going to hurt the group because the rest of the group has the weak aura and they know what to do, and you're going to maybe hit the wrong bomb. And then second of all, people are going to see you looking like a fucking idiot, and you might get kicked for not having the weak aura. That kind of shit has existed in the game for quite a while now. Like, people have legitimately been kicked from raids for not downloading weak auras, which is a problem. And that's clearly a problem Blizzard doesn't like and they want to solve. Sam, it's worth the money, worth your throat and health. Yes, yeah, it is. It is. No, it's not. But I just enjoy streaming, so I'll just push through it. I'll be okay. What else we got here? What is the goal and initiative? So moving on to the next piece here. What specific functionality are we aiming to prevent add-ons from providing? Making encounter decisions for the player. That's the number one thing they don't want add-ons doing. The reasoning behind that, when add-ons can process combat information to make decisions for players, it means that players no longer need to make the decisions themselves. This in turn lowers the challenge in our combat and encounters, but only for the players using the add-on. To make up for this reduction in challenge, Our designers must rely more heavily on Twitch gameplay or shorter enemy casts to increase punishments for not executing things perfectly. This results in players who choose to not use the add-ons having to deal with much higher level of moment-to-moment complexity. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, guys. Complexity of boss fights will not continue at its current rate once add-ons are removed. The reason these boss fights are overly complex and ridiculous, and you sit there and cry and say, well, I can't do these fights without add-ons, is because of the add-ons' existence in the first place. Okay, we've seen Race to World First where literally these groups are coming up with add-ons or in weak auras during the Race to World First. And Blizzard knows this shit's going to happen. So they design these overly complex boss fights knowing these add-ons are coming that will trivialize shit if they don't make them overly complicated. So again, without add-ons, we'll get simpler boss fights. Boss fights with longer cast times that are more, easily interrupted. Boss fights with more clear visuals in terms of what we have to do, and boss fights with less things we have to do because they don't got to worry about competing with add-ons to make sure that things are still difficult in some way, shape, or form. So the effects on the UI from this philosophy here, the most obvious API that allows add-ons to provide this functionality are combat log events. Add-ons that communicate to players, communication and player debuffs. Enemy information, spellcasts, auras, health, and power is also involved. But there are also cases where players or a group member's health and power can be used to make these decisions. So we have been cautious about exposing those kinds of values to the add-on developers from here on out. We know that not having full access to some of this combat information is a burden for other types of add-ons like unit frame add-ons. So we are actively looking for ways to address this pain point in those usages without making the information non-secret. So they are working on releasing more information to the current add-on developers. They don't want to just remove everything and just put it all in a box and say no more add-ons ever. They want you to still have add-ons, but just like for visualization's sake, right? For making things look the way you want them to look, but not for the sake of telling you what to do, okay? Creating optimal rotation helpers. This goes into kind of what Blizzard's trying to do right now. Reasoning. Rotation helpers in and of themselves are not something that we view as harmful. The same goes for add-ons that allow players to keep track of their cooldowns. Teaching players how to play their spec at a baseline level or helping them remember that a cooldown is ready are things that we support. Unfortunately, the same information that allows add-ons to create a simple rotation helper can also be used to show players the truly optimal action to take in any given time. So they don't want this shit to be a live moment-to-moment thing where the game or the add-on is telling you what to do in a boss fight. Another way to think about this is that we take no issue with add-ons allowing a player to perform at a competent level. But when an add-on allows a player to perform at a truly optimal level, it gives those players an unfair advantage. This is why our Combat Assistant feature is a non-optimal feature by design, they're saying, aiming to help players achieve an average or even slightly above average DPS, but never fully optimizing their DPS. Performing at the very highest levels always requires practice and skill. That's right. And that's why basically their one-button rotation helper has like a global cooldown. Right, every time you click it, there's a few seconds before you can click it again. It's because they don't want you to be able to just single button your rotation your way through the game at the most optimal level. Obviously, they want player skill to matter. They still care about player skill mattering, despite what some people in the community might say. And they want you to basically have a baseline, a way to learn your class, a way to understand your class, because classes have become complicated over the years. But at the same time, once you got that base level of understanding, to go beyond that is up to you. To get better at the game is up to you. Just remove all add-ons. They don't want to do that. And that's, you know what, like the easier thing, Oni, is for them to do that, for sure. They could just say, all add-ons deleted, that's it. You can never have an add-on in this game again, and we're going to limit all the freaking code base so people can't even develop add-ons for this game. They could do that, but they don't want to. They understand that, customization is something is a fun thing for players to do. Players want to, rearrange things the way they want to rearrange them, and they're okay with that. They just don't want it to be done for competitive advantage sake. That's it. Then people will comment more. I'm afraid that people will find a new boss design boring. Judgment Day for the game. I already know of about 200 people who have left the game, and I think Blizzard are seeing the numbers, so they are relaxing everything right now. I don't think that's going on. I really don't. I don't think really people... Don't forget, like, if you see the comment, well, I unsubbed to the game, those fucking people, I don't even understand why they're clicking on a WoW video to begin with. If you really unsubbed for the game, why are you clicking on a WoW video on YouTube? What kind of degenerate freaking shit is that? It's like always spying on your ex to check if she's with somebody else. Like, just get over it. You unsub. Just, go do something else. But some people will unsub just out of fear, and they'll come back. I still think the game will be more fun. And we'll get more interesting boss mechanics when you don't got to worry about add-ons trivializing things. I don't think it's going to be more hard, and I don't think it's going to be more boring. If anything, right now, the game has become more boring because literally the only thing Blizzard can really do in boss fights now is swirly boys everywhere. Dodge the shit mechanics, because add-ons, they can't really optimize for those like random moments, right? Where you got to soak over here and then dodge this thing over here. So Blizzard's been using a lot of those swirly mechanics, if you haven't noticed. So that's kind of made boss fights boring. I think once add-ons are gone, we're going to get more interesting boss mechanics, more, newer boss mechanics that we haven't seen before, because Blizzard was worried about add-ons trivializing things. That's why they didn't do those mechanics before. Okay, moving on to simplifying enemy names, cast names, or colorizing unit nameplates for based on priority. So here's the reasoning. While this functionality may seem somewhat benign at first, it has played an important role in reducing the challenge level in the game content over the last several years, particularly in Mythic Plus. I agree with this. Plater is extremely important for me as a take in Mythic Plus. For most of WoW history, learning which enemies have the highest priority or what to do when a certain spell is being casted has required knowledge built up through practice and research. This is true. Like, looking back at Burning Crusade, everybody in the community knew when you're running, like, a dungeon, which mob needed to be CC'd before the pull, right? You got to throw an ice trap at that mob, or pull or sap this mob. Which mob needed to be killed first? Which mob needed to be interrupted? Usually the one that needed to be interrupted was the one that needed to be killed first. And it was just like a community knowledge base built up over time that you just learned and you just knew it. Well, I don't know if the community has degenerated over the years, but we've certainly gotten older, and we just don't really have that kind of time anymore. So, yes, add-ons have helped people suddenly realize, again, what to do with these mobs and these pulls. Well, Blizzard says here, but when add-ons are able to call out exactly which enemy to kill first, which casts to interrupt, and which enemies to run away from, that knowledge is no longer necessary. With that knowledge and the mastery no longer required, we must compensate through other means in order to maintain a satisfying level of challenge for the players. Larger packs of enemies become the norm, as do shorter cast times on lethal spells. Essentially, we are forced to replace mastery and knowledge gain through time and Twitch gameplay that punishes players who aren't using add-ons and or have slower reaction times. We recognize that our current naming approach does not allow or provide enough clarity, especially with longer creatures or cast names. So we are also working on ways to address this in the design side of things for Midnight. The effect on the UI for this, that allow APIs that allow add-ons to identify specific enemies and enemy spell casts are primarily the ones that need to be locked down to prevent this behavior. So again, moving forward, you're not going to have the same version of Mythic Plus that we currently have right now. You're not going to have as many mobs casting things. You're not going to have the cast times be as short as they currently are. Things will be more visually intuitive and give you a longer time to react to them. So there you go. Sounds like Uber's falling apart from that past. Sheep, that, sap, that, kill these. Yep, that's basically what we used to all know. And then add-ons have slowly replaced that knowledge, so we don't really know that anymore. Blizzard wants to kind of go back to the knowledge-based side of things, but also add that UI into the game so we can more easily identify what needs to be interrupted, and we have more time to do it as well. So in summary here, without add-ons, this functionality, players won't be shut out of content. Won't players be shut out of content they enjoy? So this is kind of the worry that the player base has of what happens in a world without add-ons. So this is the most common worry we have heard expressed not only among add-on developers, but among players at large. The important thing is to remember here is that we are not making these add-on changes in a vacuum. They are being paired with significant changes to our combat and encounters as well. Now that add-ons will no longer be able to think for the player, we have to be able to reduce our reliance on the measures we leaned on previously to provide challenge. When players are told immediately what to do when an enemy starts casting a lethal spell, we can increase the cast time on that spell. So they're saying when you're not told what to do, they'll increase cast times on that thing. This entire paragraph is about accessibility, changing things up to make it more obvious what's going on, and changing the game as a whole so add-ons aren't necessarily required to do things anymore. The final paragraph here, they talk about reaching out to add-on developers. Specifically, they're going to be reaching out even more going forward. They want add-on developers of the most popular add-ons to be involved in this process of working these things and integrating them into the game. I don't know if, I'm sure they're compensating them in some way, shape, or form. There's no way these add-on devs are just doing this for free because they're basically replacing their own shit with the in-game stuff. But we'll see how all this works out going forward. We already know damage meters are coming. Different UI replacements, rotation helpers are coming. They're kind of already in the game. We also know we got our a bar information right above people's heads, like plater stuff coming, DBM coming. All these things are being integrated into the game. Plus, the game itself is being changed so it plays more easily. You don't need add-ons for Final Fantasy XIV Online, and it's great, yeah, because the game is made to not require add-ons. Right? That's part of it. The game is developed in a certain way, so add-ons aren't needed. That's how WoW is going to be. And that's a good example. Love the raids and Final Fantasy. Yeah, I think a lot of people do. Them Rune rooms, Sholo Ghoul rooms make me think CC. Yes, I remember those in Burning Crusade for sure. Final Fantasy is a dying game, though. Yeah, but that has nothing to do with not allowing add-ons. The game is not dying because it doesn't allow add-ons. The game is dying because supposedly end-game content just isn't the greatest right now. But raiding is the thing I've heard a lot of good things about from Final Fantasy. I personally haven't participated in them. So that is it for this right here in terms of overall gameplay and UI and all that shit going on. I think there's a lot to take from this in that, for one, the main concern from the player base about not being able to play the game as it currently stands without add-ons is true. That is a true concern because you can't play the game in its current state without add-ons. But that's not what we're going to be doing in Midnight. We won't be playing the game in its current state without add-ons. The game will be in a different state, a more easy to play state, a more advanced state in terms of allowing us to do things, giving us more time to do things, making things more visually obvious. And the game overall won't be easier. It'll just be challenging in a different way. So there you go. I agree with the add-on removal. I've said that for a long time. I talked about add-on removal long before Blizzard did. I always thought add-ons were a problem for the game. I've always played the game with minimal amount of add-ons. Unless a weak aura is absolutely necessary, I don't download it. So I'm fine with this. I'm good with it. I hope they continue forward with it, and I think it's a better thing for the overall health of the game. And for today, that is all in terms of news.